My name is Evelyn Rhodes, and I'm 38. At 11:23 p.m. on a Thursday, they wheeled me under fluorescent lights that made everything look honest and cruel at the same time. My appendix had decided that if it couldn't be appreciated, it would be dramatic. Noah Hale, 35, my boyfriend of 4 years, was supposed to be there. He works at Pinnacle Accounting, and there was a critical quarterly deadline. He kissed my forehead in triage, said, "I'll hit submit and come straight over," then left with the soft urgency of someone who wants to believe his job is a good excuse. Surgery took longer than anyone expected. There was internal bleeding, a surgeon with steady hands, and then morphine humming in my veins, like a lullaby I didn't remember learning. I woke around 3:00 a.m., groggy enough to forget my own last name, reaching for my phone like a lighthouse. An Instagram notification sat on the lock screen. Noah tagged you in a post. I opened it. A rooftop. City lights staged like diamonds. Noah and Sienna Park, 31, his work wife, who always laughed a beat too long at his jokes, clinking champagne flutes. Her caption, "Finally free, no more chains, no more dead weight, living my best life with someone who actually gets me. At Noah Hale, freedom, new beginnings. Bye-bye, boring." I was tagged, while I was literally being cut open. 89 likes already. Comments from their coworkers rolling in like confetti. Finally. Yes, queen. Upgrade season. My heart monitor spiked. A nurse rushed in, eyes on the screen. "Are you in pain?" she asked. "Yes," I said, and knew I meant something the morphine couldn't touch. I stared at the photo for a long beat. Then I typed one word in the comments. "Congratulations." Beneath the shine, the sloppiness was obvious. The photo metadata showed 9:47 p.m., 13 minutes before their 10 p.m. deadline. Sienna's blazer bore a tiny Pinnacle logo, the kind you only get when you're representing the firm. The rooftop itself looked uncomfortably familiar. Then I placed it, the executive terrace atop their building, the one reserved strictly for client entertainment. In the frame, reflected in the glass door behind them, was the locked cabinet that holds the firm's premium liquor. Noah once joked he wasn't senior enough to touch it. I took screenshots, lots of them. The post, the comments, the timestamp, even the reflection in the glass. I also remembered that the managing partner, Robert Fitzgerald, was old school enough to treat Instagram like a theme park he'd never visit. But his wife? Daisy Fitzgerald loved following the staff's vacations and brunches. She'd left little hearts on Sienna's travel reels. I tagged Daisy right under the photo. "Beautiful view from your husband's building." Didn't realize the Q3 deadline came with champagne service on the executive terrace. Then I put my phone face down, closed my eyes, and let morphine tow me back out to sea. I woke again at 7:04 a.m. to a phone vibrating like a trapped insect. 47 texts from Noah. I counted them. People love to say numbers are cold. Sometimes they're the only thing that feels honest. "Noah, what did you do?" "Noah, delete that comment now." "Noah, this isn't funny." "Noah, Fitzgerald called. Sienna and I are suspended." "Noah, you're ruining my career." "Noah, I was drunk. I didn't mean it." "Noah, I'm coming to the hospital." The last one jolted me into motion. I buzzed the nurse's station and, in the softest voice I could find, said, "My boyfriend and I are having an issue. No visitors unless I approve them by name." "We can place a restriction," she said. "Consider it done." Then I called my brother, Ray Rhodes, 41, attorney, bedside manner of a sledgehammer, heart like a cathedral. He picked up on the first ring. "You sound rough." "Appendix," I said. "Also, Noah announced our breakup on Instagram while I was under anesthesia." Silence. "Say that again slower." I sent him the screenshots. There was a long pause, then a low, impressed whistle. "Okay, don't delete anything. Screenshot everything. I'll be there in an hour." While I waited, I did the kind of small, steady revenge the internet was built to hold. Sienna's story from earlier showed them working late, selfie in a conference room at 7:32 p.m. In the frame, a bottle of single malt that lives in the executive cabinet. She'd bragged months ago she wasn't senior enough to touch it. Guess promotions come fast when you're filming the theft. Then I checked Sienna's relationship status. Her bio, fiancé, bride-to-be. A quick click to Facebook, and there he was. Ben Whitaker, handsome in a dependable way, still engaged, planning a spring wedding. Her last post with him had a caption about forever. I typed a message to Ben and attached the screenshots. Hi, you don't know me. You should see what your fiancé posted tonight. I sat with my thumb over send for a full breath, then pressed it. Ray arrived as I was tucking the phone back under the blanket. He took one look at me and grinned. You look far too satisfied for someone missing an organ. I'm on excellent painkillers and my cheating boyfriend just set himself on fire, I said. It's complicated. He scanned the receipts like they were exhibits. By noon, I'll file the separation and asset freeze. Joint accounts? Just the emergency fund. He would have drained it. Not today, Ray said, already calling his paralegal. The blowback didn't wait for paperwork. At 2:06 p.m., my phone rang with a number from the firm. Robert Fitzgerald himself. Ms. Rhodes, he said, voice formal but threaded with human apology. I'm calling to say I'm sorry for the behavior of our employees. Using company property for personal celebrations during billable hours, accessing restricted areas, and consuming client resources, it's beyond unprofessional. That does sound serious, I said. We've terminated both Noah Hale and Sienna Park effective immediately. We will pursue recovery of misused resources. Also, any company devices that contain your personal information will be reviewed and returned. Thank you, I said, and meant it. He hesitated, then dropped his voice. Between us, my wife Daisy is mortified. She's been showing your screenshots to her book club as an example of what's wrong with the internet. He cleared his throat. Rest well. After he hung up, I checked Instagram. The rooftop post was gone, but the internet is a hoarder. It had already been screenshot and circulated through the firm's gossip arteries. A text flashed from an unknown number. This is Ben. Thank you. The wedding is off. If Noah needs a roommate, Sienna's packing Derek-sized luggage by the curb. The joke didn't quite land, but I laughed hard enough that the nurse came to check my vitals. By day 3, post-op complications meant I was still tethered to machines when Darlene, Noah's mother, materialized at my door, having told the front desk she was my mother. How dare you, she hissed, finger already wagging. My son makes one mistake and you destroy his life? Darlene, I said, calm as I could manage with an IV in my arm. He announced he was finally free while I was in surgery. He was emotional. You neglect him with your long hours. I work 9 to 5, I said, and volunteer at the animal shelter on weekends. He was drinking with Sienna instead of working. That's your fault, she snapped. If you'd been a better girlfriend, he wouldn't have needed Sienna's support. Support, I repeated, because the word had never sounded so rubbery. She reached for my phone, and that's when security arrived. As they escorted her out, she shouted, You'll be hearing from our lawyer. They did not have a lawyer. 2 hours later, Noah himself tried to push through the visitor restriction, with Sienna trailing him, mascara smudged, eyes glassy. They argued with the nurse until the charge nurse appeared, unimpressed. You need to fix this, Noah said from the doorway when he finally got hauled in under supervision. Fix what? Tell Fitzgerald we weren't doing anything wrong, Sienna said. It was after hours. It was 9:47 p.m. Your deadline was 10 o'clock. Noah scrubbed his face. Eve, come on. We're talking about our careers. You're talking about drinking company liquor on company property during billable hours while announcing your affair on social media. It wasn't an affair, Sienna protested weakly. We were just celebrating our connection. With your fiancé at home planning a wedding, I said, and me with a fresh incision. Sienna's phone buzzed. She glanced down and blanched. It's Ben, she whispered. He changed the locks. I laughed, and I didn't feel bad about it. Right then, Ray walked in with coffee and the posture of imminent paperwork. Perfect timing, he said, and handed Noah a manila envelope. Separation papers. Consider yourself served. He turned to Sienna. And per Pinnacle, an invoice for $2,847. Misappropriated resources, unauthorized facility usage, reputational damages. They left muttering about suing everyone. The nurse shut my door with the kind of gentle click that sounds like justice. That night, the machines beeped a steady lullaby. I texted Ray a photo of the skyline out my window and typed, I think I'm going to be okay. He wrote back, You already are. By the time they discharged me, the hospital bracelet had left a faint plastic aroma ring on my wrist and a surprisingly tender affection for quiet hallways. Ray drove. I watched the city pass like a slideshow of ordinary miracles, coffee cups, dog walkers, a woman teaching a toddler to stomp in the narrow shadow of a street tree. I was sore, stitched, and steadier than I expected. First stop, Ray said. Home. Locks are already changed. Second stop, the bank. Third stop, dinner that won't scare your incision. He had a list for everything. It made the world feel solvable. At home, the air felt scrubbed. My keys fit the new deadbolt with a clean, decisive turn. On the counter sat a small care package from Maya. Ginger tea, shortbread, a card with a preemptive joke. Congratulations really does go with everything. I slept for hours, dreamless. Woke around dusk to my phone buzzing against the nightstand like a caged bee. A long post from Noah on Facebook, already circulating in our overlapping circles. A photo of him looking tragic in dramatic lighting. A caption that began with, "I don't usually do this, but," and then did exactly this. Accusations of financial control, how I'd isolated him, how I'd weaponized social media to ruin him while he was vulnerable after a long night of work. And beneath it, the comments. Some sympathetic strangers willing to believe any man with cheekbones and melancholy. But then another voice cut through. Ben Whitaker. "One glass?" he wrote. "Here's Derek, Noah's credit card statement for $400 at the rooftop bar that night. Here are 73 text messages between Noah and Sienna over the past 3 months about their connection and how their partners don't understand them. Also, here's the ring I returned to the jeweler this morning." He attached screenshots. The post cratered. Noah deleted it. The internet had already taken its copies and filed them under Don't Try Honesty's patience. The next wave was bureaucratic and ridiculous all at once. On Tuesday, a property manager called my work phone. "Ms. Rhodes, just verifying your co-signed application for the unit on Riverside." "I didn't apply for anything," I said. "I own my house." "Oh, well, a Tara." He cleared his throat. "A Tara. Sorry. Tara was autocorrect. A Tessa applied listing you as her spouse and guarantor." "We're not married. We're separating," I said. "Please flag that as fraud and don't approve." He apologized. I thanked him. It happened 3 more times that week, each time a different complex. Each time, some variation of the same shocked, "We'll take this very seriously." I placed fraud alerts with the credit bureaus. Then came the car loan attempts. Denied. The unemployment claim alleging I was the reason he, Noah, was fired. The company supplied documentation. The claim died. A GoFundMe appeared, abused and left with nothing, and expired within hours under the weight of Ben's receipts posted in the comments like bricks. Thursday morning, my boss, Priya, knocked on my office door with a smile that held both amusement and exasperation. "Just got an interesting call," she said, closing the door behind her. "Your soon-to-be ex phoned HR. He would like me to hire him because you owe him, since your company ruined his life." I blinked. "He wants you to hire him." "Better," she said. "He wants your position. Suggested you could be his assistant since you're used to serving me anyway." Priya laughed, then pressed a hand to her heart. "Forgive me. I told him we don't have openings in the delusional department." I laughed so hard my stitches reminded me I wasn't made of stone. "Thank you for telling me," I said. "Also," she added, throat clearing into a more formal tone, "off the record? Robert Fitzgerald reached out. He's impressed." "Integrity under pressure" was the phrase. "They're expanding audit. He asked if he could recommend you to a partner track mentor. Think about it." I sat very still for a second, feeling the odd, uncinematic reality of good news landing in a life that had been loud for all the wrong reasons. "I'll think about it," I breathed. That afternoon, my neighbor texted. A blurry photo of Noah at my front porch, jiggling the doorknob like a man who believed persistence could turn a key. I'd already changed the locks. The neighbor called the cops. A warning this time. He left. He called me that evening from a number I didn't recognize. "Eve," he said without preamble, "we got denied for 4 apartments. We have no income. The applications need pay stubs. Landlords Google us and that blog post pops up. Accounting employees fired for Instagram scandal. You did this." "You did this," I said. "Also, you applied with my information. Do not do it again." "We're moving in together," he blurted, defiance brittle at the edges. "Where else can we go?" I thought about the executive terrace and the way Sienna's veil of laughter had always hung a little low, like it was hiding something. "You could try accountability," I said, and hung up. The next day, Darlene left a voicemail that started at a shout and stayed there. My daughter, she meant son, cries every night. Sienna's useless. She drinks. Her mother is charging them rent. You will regret this. I forwarded it to Ray. He replied with a thumbs up emoji and a copy of the separation hearing date. 2 weeks, he wrote, 2 weeks, he wrote. Dress comfortably. Sienna tried to reinvent herself by noon. A slick website appeared. Sienna Park Consulting. 15 years of experience, it claimed. Trusted by leading firms. Testimonials from companies she'd audited, present tense, as if she still did. Within 48 hours, Pinnacle had sent cease and desist letters and filed a complaint with the State Board of Accountancy for misrepresentation. The board moved faster than I expected. A provisional notice, suspension under review, practice ban likely. Ben texted me once more. Update. Deposits recovered via small claims. His wages will be garnished. A second bubble. I bought myself a dog. He attached a photo of a ridiculous creature with 2 big ears and the name Pip on a collar. I wrote back, excellent life choice. That weekend, I walked dogs at the shelter. The air was cold and clean. The kennels sang their chaotic chorus. A brindled mutt leaned his entire body against my calf like we'd agreed not to fall apart today. I told him he was a good boy like I was writing it into law. On Monday, the GoFundMe reappeared under Sienna's account with a new title, Rebuilding After Corporate Betrayal. Ben's screenshots arrived in the comments before I could even blink. She deleted it in 30 minutes. Someone had screen recorded the whole thing, including the part where she spelled betrayal with an extra E. Noah tried a softer angle that night, a text without punctuation. Just talk to me, we were friends once, I can't do this. I typed, friendship keeps secrets, it doesn't weaponize. We are not friends. I deleted it. I typed, I hope you find the version of yourself that doesn't need an audience. I deleted that too. In the end, I sent nothing. Silence wasn't punishment. It was a boundary. The separation hearing was almost disappointingly procedural. Ray presented the screenshots like a librarian returning overdue books. The judge skimmed, took notes, asked 3 questions in a voice that suggested he'd seen every possible variation of hubris and heartbreak in this courtroom and still found room for grace. We left with a clean split, no alimony, and a later date for the civil restitution hearing regarding the fraudulent applications. When that day came, the ruling was crisp. Noah owed me $1,400 in fees and time. Pinnacle's invoice of $2,847 became a garnishment line item on his seasonal tax prep paychecks, which began 3 weeks after he posted a photo in a polyester polo with dead eyes and a caption about hustle. Sienna, meanwhile, cycled through 3 friend groups in as many months. The brunch crowd didn't survive the first round of haters' monologues. The Pilates girls peeled off after the second "they ruined me" reel. By the time she posted a teary story about toxic narratives, only a handful remained to send heart emojis. I kept my circle small and real. Maya, Lila, Priya, Ray. Ben sent periodic Pip updates. Pip in a sweater, Pip asleep in a shoe, Pip proud beside a chewed remnant of Noah's old hoodie. Healing has many shapes. The last stunt came on a Tuesday afternoon when my HR pinged me. Please ignore any reference calls you might receive on Noah. We've directed firms to the official verification service. Translation. He was cold calling my colleagues to ask for favors. Later I learned he'd also called Fitzgerald to beg for a second chance, framing it as a spiritual awakening. Fitzgerald's assistant, with the crisp sympathy of someone who's handed out too many pink slips and not enough Kleenex, told him the firm wasn't a rehab for public relations. That evening, I stood in the grocery wine aisle, reading labels like stories. My phone buzzed. Unknown. Evelyn, Darlene again. He's back in my house. He can't sleep. Sienna drinks at lunch. They're miserable. Sounds like they're finally free, I said gently, and hung up before she could wind herself into a familiar loop. I picked the expensive champagne. At home, I poured 1 glass, then another for Ray, who'd stopped by with Thai food and the look of a man who needed to be fed to keep from burning the world down on my behalf. To freedom done right, he said. To freedom that doesn't belong to someone else's spouse, I added. We clinked. It fizzed like celebration always should. Honest, earned, and nobody live streaming it. 3 months after the surgery, the world had finally stopped shaking. The divorce papers were filed, the fraud investigations closed, and the steady hum of real life had started again. Quiet, almost suspiciously quiet. Noah and Sienna were still a headline in their own small disaster, though the world had moved on. Their story had burned fast, and now it just flickered somewhere in the ashes of the internet. The last I heard, they'd moved in with Darlene, Noah's mother, after being kicked out of Sienna's sublet for day drinking and missed rent. Darlene had turned their stay into a temporary arrangement, charging them $300 a month for Noah's old room. She called it a lesson in adulthood. That didn't last long. 4 days, to be exact. When Darlene found them in her basement drinking canned cocktails at noon, she packed their things in garbage bags and left them on the porch. They bounced between couches for weeks after that, until Sienna's aunt took them in out of pity. She regretted it almost immediately. It's strange, watching karma operate like clockwork. It doesn't shout, doesn't rush, it just keeps perfect time. Meanwhile, I'd started to feel like myself again. Work became a kind of sanctuary. Priya, my boss, kept her word. Fitzgerald's recommendation went through, and I was promoted to senior auditor with double the salary Noah used to brag about. The irony wasn't lost on me. At the announcement meeting, Priya said, "Evelyn Rhodes represents professionalism under pressure. Integrity isn't tested when things go well. It's tested when they don't." The team applauded. I smiled, small and steady. It wasn't triumph I felt. It was relief. After work, I still volunteered at the animal shelter. I liked the rhythm of it. Walking dogs that didn't care about accounting or betrayal or algorithms. Just fresh air and open ground. I even made a donation, $500 in Noah's name. The shelter sent him a thank you card with a picture of the dogs I walked. He texted me the next day. "Really, this is so childish." I replied, "Congratulations on supporting a good cause," then blocked his number for good. For a while, that was the last I heard, until I ran into Darlene in the grocery store. I was comparing pasta sauces when she appeared beside me, clutching a sale flyer like it was moral authority. Her tone was sharp, but her eyes were tired. "She cries every night," she said. "They both do. Sienna can't find work. Noah says you ruined his life." I placed a jar in my cart. Then I guess he finally understands responsibility. "You could have helped," she said, almost pleading now. "You used to love him." "I did," I said. And then I watched what he did with that love. She frowned, searching for a retort that wasn't coming. "You're really not going to forgive him?" "I already did," I said. "Forgiveness just doesn't come with access." Darlene blinked, then looked down at her flyer. "You sound just like your brother." "Thank you," I said, and meant it. I walked away, didn't look back. That night, I opened a bottle of champagne, the same brand they'd used on the rooftop, and poured one glass. I texted a picture to Ray with a caption, "Celebrating my freedom, the right way." He replied a minute later, "Proud of you. You've officially graduated from chaos." "Do I get a diploma?" I asked. "You get peace," he wrote back. "That's rarer." He was right. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the need to check social media, to defend myself, to prove a thing. The noise had finally stopped. Noah and Sienna's names didn't sting anymore. They were just trivia now, forgotten by everyone who'd once commented, "Yes, Queen," under her rooftop post. I'd thought revenge would feel like fireworks. It didn't. It felt like silence. Warm, ordinary silence, filled with the sound of my own breathing, and maybe a dog snoring somewhere nearby. Sometimes I still think about that night in the hospital. The beep of the heart monitor, the single word I typed without thinking, "Congratulations." It was small, simple, but it was the only word I needed. Because everything that came after wasn't destruction. It was gravity. They just fell the way truth makes people fall. Fast, inevitable, and exactly where they chose to land. And me, I didn't destroy anyone's life. I just stopped holding it up,